There's an article that came out in McClatchy today that I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on, but I do want to talk about it. I read this article with a certain political fascination. And while I'm going to be derisive towards this article, there's a humor about it, and there's a breathtaking honesty about the article, even though it's dropping other parts. Essentially, Cohen being found or his cell phone detected in Prague. And McClatchy is the only one to put this out. McClatchy is the only one to back McClatchy up on this. And it puts me in the mind of the information was fabricated by Julian Assange by The Guardian, given to Luke Harding. Hey, Luke Harding, we need to create a link between these two things, so we're going to give you this article because you have a hard on for things dealing with Russia. Okay, and I'm just going to publish this. And when asked for questions on this, like, wait a minute, how come nobody else is backing you up? Glenn Greenwald gave a scathing list of questions to them. Bogus. Nothing at all. Essentially, we've needed to create a link between two things, and so we're going to create that link between two things using sources from intelligence sources. Now, in this case, it comes across something very similar. And let me explain what I mean by this. There is, there's this kind of a substrate, and there's a reality of things. Meaning, there's a narrative that gets put out from the standpoint of media, where people aggregate around. And either that main narrative, whatever that main narrative is, people push against, or people push for. But at the very least, you're responding to that main narrative. But there's a substructure below that main narrative that's more honest than what is put out for the standpoint of optics. Hillary Clinton loses a presidential race. And instead of dealing with the fact that she lost that presidential race, she comes out and says, I lost because of the Russians. The Russians. They had a hard on for me. Trump and Russia. This kind of birth of this narrative that takes place. You have a media organization that, whether or not the media... Look, I don't know if they're being honest with themselves, but I would say this. All levels of objectivity have gone out the window on this. And they have, you can say, resonated this narrative. Now, from the standpoint of politics, that makes kind of sense. I mean, your goal is to win the White House. And from the standpoint of being a party, that doesn't end at the end of that election. There is no end to it, per se. You're in this kind of death match where you're just consistently going on and on in cycles. My point is, the campaign doesn't end the moment that the election ends. From the standpoint of the parties, that war is still in effect. And from the standpoint of Clinton saying, I didn't lose on my own merits, yeah, there's a certain level of mendacity to that from the standpoint of but there's also an aspect of perpetuating this kind of conflict. The media dislikes Donald Trump for all sorts of reasons, and to some degree, that's even some of Donald Trump's fault himself. But they resonated this narrative. This narrative that's just so happened is antithetical to the person they dislike. They resonated this narrative. From a political space, from a media space, the established narrative of things was that there was something with Trump and Russia. This creates a so bleed on his campaign. Now, part of the thing that they used to initiate this was the Trump dossier, the Steele dossier, dodgy dossier. The problem is this. There are elements of that dossier that is essentially a political hit piece. That's all it is. It was paid for by the Clinton Foundation. The FBI appropriated it into itself and used that as the basis, to some degree, of an investigation. That is problematic at best, that you're using political hit piece as an investigation. But whatever, fair enough. There may be something there. The catch here is this. If elements of the dossier are shown to be false, then it creates a negative impact on the rest of the dossier. What's the point in chasing down leads for something that we found to be somewhat bogus? On the other shoe, if you're finding elements of the dossier to be bolstered, meaning true, then it lends credence to other parts of it. The war at this point, from a political space, even though it's in the area of whether Trump has something to do with Russia. It was like, do you beat your wife? Is the dossier itself. Which means that people have started to try to bolster the dossier and these other parts, creating the link between Manafort and WikiLeaks, or in this case, Cohen and Prague. The way that they find this is hilarious to me, so I am just going to read the article that McClatchy put up until the first paragraph, first two paragraphs, because that's all that gives the entirety of what they're saying here. The rest of it is just giving background. But this article is fucking amazing to me. But it's gonna fly as, as if it's true, and they accept it to some degree in our way of true. Cell signal put Cohen outside of Prague around time of purported Russian meeting. Now, the reason why Prague is important is because in the dossier it said that he had a meeting in Prague. Cohen said, "I've never been to Prague. Never took place. This is bogus. This is nonsense." And up to this point, there was no link between him and Prague. Oh, just like a link from Assange Manafort coming out of thin air. Here we have this coming out of thin air, brought to you by sources from the shadows that you would never get to know, telling you stuff that you can never, ever cooperate. A mobile phone traced to President Donald Trump's former lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen, briefly sent signals ricocheting off cell towers in Prague in the area in the late 2016 at the height of the presidential campaign, leaving an electronic record to support claims that Cohen met secretly with Russia official. 4 people with knowledge of the matter said. All right, 4 people said. Fair enough. Who are those 4 people? You will never know. During the same period in August and early September, electronic eavesdropping by an Eastern European intelligence agency picked up a conversation among Russians. Oh, ding ding! One of whom remarked that Cohen was in Prague. That is amazing. People familiar with this incident said, I love this, because this hits the buzzer on 2 counts. We picked up a conversation among Russians. First gold star, yes, we need that conversation. And those Russians just so happened to say, Cohen was in Prague. I love this. Let's keep going. I just find that to be amazing, but let's keep going. The phone and surveillance data, which have not previously been disclosed, lend new credence to the key parts of British spies dossier the Kremlin intelligence described purported coordinated between Trump and Russia election meddling operation. Now, in Shattered made the point that the Clinton campaign came up with the political operation of saying, Trump, Russia, it wasn't me that failed magnificently, it was Trump and Russia. And the media ran with this particular campaign. My point here is that the narratives, the media itself ran with its own narrative. Meaning once that narrative of Trump and Russia was created, everything, the reporting and everything else went to determining with the determinative end of Trump and Russia coordinated, meaning everything else has to be kind of fruit of the poisonous tree. Everything else has fold within the knowledge loop that we've coordinated for ourselves. I'm saying that's all where all of this comes from, with intelligence agencies kind of coming in on this, depending upon which side of the political spectrum that they fall. And by the way, look at this. They even say intelligence agencies. They drop all pretense. Let me see. The new information regarding the recovery of Cohen's cell phone location doesn't explain why he was apparently there, or who he was meeting with, if anyone, but it adds evidence that the Cohen was part of near Prague near the time that he was supposed to meeting. Both of the newly surfaced foreign electronic intelligence intercepts, I love that. Do they typically say that? These are foreign intelligence intercepts? Were shared with Special Counsel Mueller, people familiar with the matter said. Meaning Mueller has it. If Mueller has it, why is the Mueller team saying that Cohen is cooperating? I mean, wouldn't that if this is true, if he was indeed in Prague at the time, and he's given his testimony to Mueller saying that he wasn't, both of those things can't be true. McClatchy reported early April 2018 that Mueller had obtained evidence that Cohen traveled to Prague from Germany late August, but it could not be learned how that information was gleaned. We couldn't learn how that information was gleaned. Cohen tweeted at now hours after the story was published, I hear hashtag Prague, Czech Republic is beautiful in the summertime. Cohen tweeted, I would know as I've never been. Mueller knows everything. I'm inclined to agree with, what's his name on this? Michael Cohen on this. You can't have it both ways. He can't be cooperating witness and lying at the same token while simultaneously Mueller knowing everything, but he's essentially denying something that's a key claim. Can't have it both ways. Nobody else is backing McClatchy up on this, so just hear it that way. Michael Easterwood, they misheard he wasn't in Prague. He was in Prague as in King Crimson's cover band. I love that. They misheard. The Russians misheard. Oh, that's hilarious, man. God, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm disinclined to agree. Look, at the point where they were coming, it's like you have spooks who are coming out the woodwork who you can never own up to who they are, giving us secret information. I heard the moon is made of Swiss cheese. I heard that. Fuck it. I mean, somebody told me that, so I'm just going to publish that. Yeah. Come on. Bob Ramirez, the keep one eye on Jamarl Alexa skill isn't published for everyone. Is that so? I find the story to be amazing. I love the part where they say the Russians whispered Cohen is going to be in Prague. Okay, they didn't say whisper, but everything else. I mean, come on. Come on. This is too good. This is too good. Look, the goal of this, like I said, is politically bolstering the dossier with the idea that if you can bolster the dossier, you can bolster the claims of the dossier, which again have been met with dodgy at best. This was a political opposition research thing. It wasn't supposed to be factual information, and yet still they use this as a basis of an attack on Trump that has led to this kind of slow bleed of the Russian investigation. From a moral standpoint, questionable. From a legal standpoint, even more so. From a political standpoint, well, the politics of it doesn't necessarily have a morality associated with it. It's what do I do in order to put a knife in my political opponent so I can use his carcass to climb over to get into the political space. That's what this is. This is a slow bleed. Donald Trump hasn't done himself any favors on this, by the way. He's over the top gross. But yeah, it's a political hit job. And this intelligence that is just being offered up out of the ether that just so happens, look, this is the political camp. Two things are taking place. The political campaign is heating up, meaning the presidential campaign in 2020. These guys are essentially getting their heads right for that. But the campaign against Trump had never stopped. The entire Russian investigation in and of itself is just a slow bleed. It's a war of attrition of sorts that tries to bleed away support. All right, I'm going to end this because I have a few others. Let's see, right here, Cryptic Warrior. Maybe I'm not understanding. Why would this mean anything? And when did this happen? It would seem easily verifiable compared to dates and speeches and public appearances. So they're saying that Cohen was there in 2016 during the campaign. Cohen said he's never been to Prague. And the catch is, you're stuck either believing or disbelieving McClatchy. And from the standpoint of McClatchy, even disbelieving or disbelieving the people who are whispering to McClatchy. I mean, that's kind of the problem with this. This stuff is always from the shadows. McClatchy even goes so far as to say intelligence services have given us this. Look, the Trump-Russia stuff is nonsense to me. Until something is clear and definitive, it will remain nonsense to me, and dangerous nonsense at that. This comes across as a political operation in order to damage the candidate with this type of information. I don't buy it. They tried linking Trump to Klan, but found out too many of the DNC supporters belong. Russia works better. Russia does work better. It does work better. All of this, though, I mean, whether it's the Democrats with Russia or the Republican Party with immigrants, all of those things try to focus attention outside of the country as if something out there is trying to attack us. Yeah, that needs to be focused closer to home. That needs to be focused closer to home. In this, Russia, it's not like Russia is the reason we don't have socialized medicine. I know, right? Fucking Russians stopping our socialized medicine. Alright, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. I'll be right back. I have another show for today. I'm not going to say 10-15 minutes because I got that one wrong. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, but I wanted to get this out the way since I had already queued up. When I can, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to slap 100 and join page. Oh, I'm incredibly endowed to you and your help. I haven't given help. I just have a wavelength that I put out. And there's some people who are okay with that wavelength, in which case you're more than welcome to the family. But thank you, man. I do appreciate it. I tried linking Bob Ramirez to the Klan, but the Klan didn't want to be associated with it. He spelled Klan wrong. Okay. Yeah. Right there. Right there. He spelled Klan wrong. Without Jamarl, I would be even more dumb, but I'm trying to learn politics. Look, politics, honestly, I mean, it depends on how cynical you believe people are, whatever your estimation is. But whatever that line of cynicism is that you put, it's like, okay, they're not more cynical than us. What is your objective? And what do you need to do to get to the objective, point A to point B? And you take the path that has the least damage to you. That's politics. Now, so, you know, there's optics to this, meaning there are levels, meaning there's the interpersonal level with the political players themselves. But there's also this other aspect of reality of how do I shape a reality around me while still just being a person. Because regardless of what, you know, these, you know, Obama, the Omenum and all this other stuff, it's just a person. They're building a campaign around a particular individual. Meaning, in the same way that you would buy a pair of Frosted Flakes and they would act like there's a tiger that comes out of the box at night and roams about, it's just cereal with bread and sugar. We're trying to make a human being something more than just what that human being is. Like Batman. Like Batman, Bruce Wayne. He's really Bruce Wayne, but at the end of the day, when you take the mask off, he's, you know, it's not as epic. I guess I'm trying to make the point that politics is in a similar way, with various levels in which that operates. The goal of this is to win, but it's to win at least cost to yourself. If that makes sense, but that's politics. That sounds extremely cynical portrayal of politics, but that's just that's what it is. At the point where people are putting that much money into the political process, they're putting that money into the political process in order to get results. In which case, those politicians do what they need to do to get their results. They're incentivized to do so. At least that's the way I see politics. That's the way I see it. All right, I'm going to end this because this has gone off the rails. If you guys enjoy the content, please contribute or think about contributing. My wife always says $1 helps, and I agree. Thanks all. Have a good one. Oh, and by the way, the only reason I say that, a gentleman I met yesterday, he asked me, he says, I thought the YouTube thing had been driven in, a nail in the coffin. It's not that it's driven a nail in the coffin. It's just that any random video gets demonetized. So it creates more of an incentive for people to request help in that way. All right, I'll end this here. I'll see you guys in a few, probably 20, 30 minutes or so. See what my wife is doing. This is like the first day we've had working day. Usually she's working in the office or in the other room, and I'm working in this particular office. I'm back in my studio, which is just the room that I have lights and everything else into. But it's our first working day, so it feels weird being back, but it's good. Hello, so cool. Okay, Jamarl. That man next to you is handsome. Kiss or whatever. All right. You all have a good one. I'll see you back shortly. Thanks all.